everyone, and welcome back to another Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are tackling one of the most vibrant, exciting areas of morphology. So often we're taught to think of human language as this dusty, ancient rule book that we just have to memorize. But in reality, language is a dynamic, living organism. It breathes, it adapts, and it is constantly evolving right alongside us. Just think about the vocabulary you use every single day. Have you ever stopped to wonder how words like brunch, selfie, Google, or even COVID actually came into existence? Were these words just sitting around, hiding in the back of some ancient English dictionary for centuries, waiting for us to find them? The answer, of course, is a resounding no. See, languages are living systems. Just as human societies grow, adapt, and change, our languages have to continuously construct new words to express entirely new ideas, breakthrough technologies, inventions, and massive cultural shifts. Once society changes, we face a very real practical problem. We suddenly need new labels to describe our new reality. All right, let's dive into this. Our roadmap for today is super straightforward. We'll hit 3 main points. First, defining word formation. Second, running through the 12 key processes. And third, why word formation actually matters.
So, part 1, defining word formation.
At its core, word formation is exactly what it sounds like. It's the morphological process through which entirely new words are created in a language. You can really think of this as the engine of our vocabulary expansion. It's the underlying machinery that ensures we are literally never at a loss for words, no matter what new concepts human development throws our way. Because as societies develop, we constantly need new labels to map out our changing world. We need vocabulary for brand new scientific discoveries, for shifting social trends, and for the global cultural interactions that happen when different societies merge and collaborate. Language has to stretch to cover all of those bases. Which brings us to part 2, the 12 key processes languages use to do this. Let's run through them. Process number 1 is coinage. Now, this is kind of the holy grail of word creation because it is the invention of entirely new words out of thin air. Interestingly enough, many coined words start their lives as highly specific brand names or trademarks. Take the word Google, for instance. It started as a company name, but it was so wildly successful that it shifted into an everyday verb. When you say, hey, I'll Google that real quick, you're using a coined word. Process 2 is borrowing. True to its name, this happens when one language adopts a word directly from another language to fill a gap in its own vocabulary. I always like to describe English as a bit of a linguistic pirate, mostly because it is happily borrowed from hundreds of different cultures. Words like kindergarten from German, algebra from Arabic, and shampoo from Hindi, they were all adopted directly into English. Let's move to our third process and see how we can build vocabulary through simple addition. This is compounding, and it's basically a highly productive mathematical equation for language. You take one complete word, add another complete word, and boom, you get a brand new term. Compounding joins 2 or more independent building blocks to generate completely new meaning. You take the word rain, you add the word coat, and suddenly you have a raincoat. You take sun and flower, and you get a sunflower. Both of the original words keep their form, but together, they create something totally uniquely descriptive. Process 4 is blending. Now, you really need to differentiate blending from compounding. With blending, we don't use the whole words. Actually, scratch that, we only use parts of 2 words, usually their syllables, to create a hybrid. Calling back to the question I asked at the very beginning of the explainer, this is exactly where brunch comes from. You take the bra from breakfast, the unch from lunch, and you blend them together. We do the exact same thing with smoke and fog to make smog. Next up is process 5, clipping. Look, if there is one thing humans absolutely love, it's efficiency. We want to communicate as quickly as possible. Clipping involves shortening a longer word without changing its meaning or its grammatical class, purely for quicker pronunciation. That's why we clip advertisement down to ad, and why a laboratory is just called a lab in everyday conversation. Now, process 6, back formation, is where we often have a real aha moment. This is when speakers basically reverse engineer language. They mistakenly assume a long word has a suffix attached to it, so they strip it away to create a simpler word. For example, the noun editor existed first. People assumed it was a verb with an or attached to the end, so they stripped that off to create the brand new action verb edit. We literally reshaped the language in reverse.
Process 7 is conversion, and man, is it flexible. In conversion, a word's spelling and pronunciation stay exactly identical, but its grammatical function totally shifts. So email started as a noun, the message itself, right? But through conversion, it became an action verb, as in, I'll email you later.
Let's group processes 8 and 9 together so we can clearly delineate them. Acronyms and initialisms. Both of these take the first letters of a group of words, but the difference is entirely in how they are spoken out loud. Acronyms are pronounced as one seamless word, like NASA or laser. Initialisms, on the other hand, are explicitly pronounced letter by letter, like the FBI or the BBC.
Process 10 is derivation, and it is a massive, massive contributor to our daily vocabulary. Derivation involves attaching affixes, so either prefixes at the beginning or suffixes at the end, to a base word. By simply adding un to happy, you get unhappy. By adding ness to kind, you get kindness. It is just an incredibly productive way to rapidly multiply the words we have at our disposal. Process 11 brings a really fun rhythm to morphology. It's called reduplication. This involves repeating a word or part of it to create meaning or intensity. It's super common in many world languages, giving us bouncy, rhythmic examples in English like tick-tock, ping-pong, or flip-flop.
And finally, we reach process 12, eponyms. It might actually surprise you to learn that some everyday items are immortalizing the names of historical figures. An eponym is a word derived from the proper name of a person or a place. The sandwich, named after the Earl of Sandwich. Diesel fuel, named after its inventor, Rudolf Diesel. We use these people's names every single day without even realizing it. All right, that brings us to our third and final section, why word formation matters. We have definitely taken quite a journey through human linguistic creativity today, from the brand new inventions of coinage, to the cultural exchange of borrowing, all the way to the grammatical shifts of conversion and derivation. So, the absolutely crucial point here is, why do we care? What's the big takeaway? Well, this constant evolution is essential for our survival as communicators. Word formation explains exactly how languages manage to evolve and survive across centuries. It perfectly reflects cultural and social influence, showing who we trade with and who we interact with. And crucially, it enables rapid innovation. Think about it. If scientists couldn't compound, blend, or derive new words, society would be entirely unable to adapt to new scientific realities. It's the ultimate showcase of human creativity. The most important thing to remember is that language is never static. These morphological processes ensure that our vocabulary keeps pace with the ever-changing reality of human civilization. The words we invent today are quite literally the historical footprints of our cultural exchange. Which leaves us with a rather profound thought to end on. If every new word tells a story about human innovation and the world we live in right now, what will the words we invent tomorrow say about the society we're building today? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep paying close attention to the words you use every single day, and I'll see you in the next one.